This has Rangers fans fired up as a new superstar is emerging in the NHL, and one player that nobody had on their radar coming into this season is making a big splash so far this season for the New York Rangers. We're going to break all of that down, but before we do, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 70% of you who watch our videos are not actually subscribed to the channel, so if you want to do yourself a favor, it's free. Hit that subscribe button and you get to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers, and so far this season has been fantastic for the New York Rangers, off to a fantastic start in the Metropolitan Division, of course, but, around the league as well, staying tops in the league. And that's exactly what Rangers fans were looking for so far this season. But there's a lot to like within their games, not the fact that they're winning, or not just the fact that they're winning. There's a lot to like from certain players and what we were looking for from certain players that we know, as well as players making their debut this season. So we're going to get into that. And first, we will start a little bit with the game last night against the Detroit Red Wings, in a great win. And obviously, you would have liked the season to start off 3-0. It didn't fall that way for the Rangers, but 2-0-1 is a great start as well. And you wanted to see some signs from Lafreniere that he was going to continue to do this season what he did last season. And so far, we have seen exactly that in this game and the last couple of games. And this is from Johnny. And you know what they say, two's a fluke, but three's a streak. And I mean, yeah, this goal was a little bit fluky, if you want to call it that, because it did end up, kind of knuckle pucking through the goalie's Alex Lyon's legs. And, wasn't, maybe he could have stopped it, but at the same time, it's a great shot from Lafreniere and a great play. So he scored. It doesn't matter. It goes in. It doesn't matter how they go in. It just matters how many you score. So 3-game point streak to start the season for Lafreniere. So he's off to a fantastic start, and obviously picking up where he left off, not just last season, but last year's playoffs. And I mean, he's going to be a superstar in this league, and not only, in the league in a couple of years, maybe even this year, we might see him, finally break out and be that superstar, but he's still so young. And for the New York Rangers, I mean, you have a lot of guys in their top end talent that are still fantastic that we're going to touch on in this video as well. But Lafreniere is the young up and coming superstar who's going to fill that void eventually one day. So it's nice to see him taking those steps. And obviously, Alexis Lafreniere in the last 9 months, 38 games played, 21, and I assume this means summer as well, because 38 is not a big sample size for 9 months, but 21 goals, 18 assists for 39 points, so he's over a point a game pace. He has 45, he's on a 45 goal pace, 84 point pace, so over a point a game player over the last couple months in those games. And obviously I'm very excited to see what he does over the course of this entire season. So from Big Head Hockey as well, who are a great follow on Twitter, people realize that he has arrived, right? Alexis Lafreniere has arrived. He is now a young up and coming superstar. I still say up and coming because obviously he's got to prove it over the course of a couple seasons, but it looks like he's well on his way to doing that this season. So very exciting stuff. And in terms of, who's rolling to start the season, you really wanted to see some signs that obviously, the top guys, right? You want Chris Kreider, you want Zibanejad to get going, because obviously, it's looking like they might be the second line at this point, just because the quote-unquote second line from last year is so undeniable right now with Panarin, Lafreniere, and Trocheck in the middle, right? I mean, they've been so good, so maybe you want to call them the first line, but you wanted to see signs that Zibanejad and, of course, Kreider were off to a great start as well, and that happened last night. Again, with Mika, great slap pass or deceptive pass, whatever you want to call it, for the tip-in goal, and then obviously getting his first of the season on the empty net. Love to see that. Great stuff. And we're going to pivot a little bit away from the game itself and into a fantastic story that this is, and obviously an overarching story for the whole season so far. That is Victor Mancini, of course, making the team due to, yes, injuries, but his hard work, and nobody really saw this coming. He's a 5th-round pick from 2022. Those usually do not make the NHL at all, and when they do, it's not this soon with this much of an impact, right? So he's a great story, and this, again, is from Vince, who does some great work and talk about him regularly on the channel. Victor Mancini's path to the New York Rangers is both unique and inspiring. Taking him from Sweden to Nebraska, and now, of course, Madison Square Garden. He also went undrafted twice, which is crazy. The Rangers finally took him in the 5th round in his 3rd draft-eligible season. So not just a rare case. And again, Mancini refuses to back down because he has a special appreciation for what it means to get to where he is. His path to the NHL was unique. Obviously, he went from Michigan to Sweden. He spent some time playing in Sweden, then far off the hockey beaten path to Nebraska, the bold move to ship overseas was followed by a gut punch of going undrafted in his first 2 years of eligibility, but his response to that disappointment drove him to new heights and obviously playing with the New York Rangers. And I don't want to get into the whole article. There's so much more than just this in Vince's article. That's great. So go check that out if you want to see the entire article. There's some crazy tidbits in this article that I did not know about Victor Mancini, but calling him a long shot prospect is an understatement at this point. Like I just mentioned, like 5th round picks don't make the NHL usually. And, if they do, it's not this soon with this impact, right? Like he looks great. He doesn't look out of place and he doesn't look scared. Sam Rosen was saying it on the broadcast yesterday. Like he does not look scared or frightened in high pressure situations so far. So we could be seeing a lot out of this guy in the future, especially as the salary cap structure of the Rangers is definitely going to change come next season. So he wanted to say it's definitely a little crazy. It's really been a dream come true, but this is where I wanted to be since I was a little kid. I feel like I've worked hard for my opportunities and I've earned a place to be here. And we also have another quote from Victor Mancini as well, with obviously his work in camp and what it means to make the Rangers. And he went on to say, I'm happy with it. That's obviously what I wanted to do coming into training camp, is make a good impression. I'm just kind of sticking to the grind and just letting my play speak for itself. And I think that's it, right? There was no real hype around Victor Mancini coming into training camp, but he came in and let his work speak for itself. And he earned a spot in the opening night lineup and obviously on the roster right now. I mean, Lindgren is still out. He's due to come back shortly, and maybe, Mancini will come out for him. But I think Mancini has made a name for himself here, where if there is another injury, he might be the first call up. And obviously, Zach Jones has solidified a spot for himself in the lineup as well. So I think this is a guy who is, earned his spot in by way of, if there is an injury, because you have to play guys like Lindgren over Mancini. At least, right now, if, Lindgren, we do know, plays really well with Fox, and you would like a player like that back. But, looking towards the future, if there's another injury, or, if Lindgren's play kind of, isn't as great at times during the season, maybe you look at putting Mancini in. Maybe you have another guy that you feel more comfortable putting in, and obviously if the salary cap allows for it. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and he's been a great story so far this year. It's a great feel-good story, and obviously he's had some great plays, like splitting the defense yesterday, taking the puck in on the zone entry, splitting the defense, getting a chance. He didn't score. He did score the other night, his first NHL goal. It was waved off by Wes McCauley. A lot to be made of that, obviously, and we had a video on the channel just the other day that really got into that as well, and the fans are not happy about that. I mean, not great. Would have loved to see Victor Mancini get that goal, or at least point, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. And obviously had his NHL debut just last week. He got the Broadway hat in his NHL debut, so not a bad debut to get the Broadway hat in your first game. So not a bad start to Victor Mancini's stint as a New York Ranger, and he has been brilliant so far this season. Obviously, very small sample size, and he'll probably, be out of the lineup soon here as Lindgren comes back from injury, but he's made a huge statement. So let me know in the comments what you think of Victor Mancini, and of course the Rangers start to the season, Lafreniere, how he started the season, and the big guns, how they've started the season. And let me know what you think of Victor Mancini. Like, I think this is a great player who's earned his spot if there is an injury to be the first call up, and I think the future looks very bright with a guy like that, because he's only going to get better, and he plays fearless, which I think is another thing that the Rangers need, especially come playoff time. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.